What is up, guys? Welcome back to the shop. Today we are going to figure out what's the best way to both drain and fill the new Ford PTUs that have a cooler strapped to the side of them. Now, all of these have a drain plug in them. Great, good job, Ford. But the fill plug now is almost impossible to get to. The official directions from Ford has you pulling off the exhaust and the catalytic converter and a shield and a temperature sensor that they screwed into the original fill port on there. It's a lot of work every 20, 30,000 miles just to maintain this PTU. Now, these PTUs with coolers are still failing out there. There's just not enough fluid in there. They take just a little over half a quart. There's not enough fluid inside of there to both lubricate and dissipate the heat. The oil in the engine and the trans, everything else has a cooling effect to it. And with a little over half a quart in there, it's just not doing its job and it's breaking down way too fast. So you need to change the fluid every 20 to 30,000 miles, even with a cooler on there. So today we're going to walk you through what I found to be the best way to get around that and how to fill it without pulling the whole exhaust system down just to fill the PTU back up. Let's check it out. First things first, while it's hot, let's go ahead and drain the PTU so we can get a good fluid exchange on there. So once you come back from your road test, you want to jack the vehicle up at all 4 points on the pinch weld right here. Get it on jack stands at all 4 corners so we're nice and safe and it's up and off the ground so we can slide underneath here and get to that PTU. Now you may have an underbody shield right here or an air duct. Go ahead and unclip those, get them out of the way, and that'll give us some access to get up here to work on the PTU. Now these PTUs with coolers on them are basically the same PTU, but there's a cooler, you see right there, strapped to the side of it. So we can get a good heat exchange up by the radiator and pull some heat away from the PTU and hopefully make it last much longer. They don't work too well, but it's a good idea. With these though, it makes it a little bit harder to service them because our fill plug, you see it right there, is now taken up by a temperature sensor that allows the module to monitor temps inside the PTU. So in order to get to that fill plug on there, fill this thing back up, we need to pull that temp sensor, shield, and the right-hand cat right here. It's a lot of work every 20 to 30,000 miles just to maintain the PTU. So we're gonna have to think outside the box here. What's nice about all these though is they do include a drain plug. You see it right there, and it's a 1/4 inch Allen. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna drain that, but we're gonna think outside the box. We're gonna modify this just a bit, retrofit it a bit. So what you wanna get is a nice measuring cup like this. Has good markings on it, okay? These PTUs generally hold about a half a quart or just over half a quart on there. So this one's perfect. I have this one too in case we overflow. What you want to do, we're going to drain it out right into one of these. And the idea is to get an accurate measurement of what we drain out. And then we're going to modify the vent on there up in the engine compartment with a hose like this and a 5/16 hose barb. And we're going to use the Miximizer. You guys ever see these? They're for mixing oil and gas and 2-cycle engines. We're going to use this as a funnel. And I'll show you guys how to do all that at the end here. And of course, you want to make sure you have a bottle of fluid on hand. Your favorite brand doesn't matter. I prefer the Motorcraft over anything else out there, but it's up to you. But for right now, first things first, we're going to take that cup and we're going to pop the drain plug on there, unscrew it, and we're going to start measuring the drain on there and let it drain out. All right, here we go. So this is probably the best angle I can get to show you guys this process. Different models and different years are of course going to vary in the configuration here, but they're all pretty easy to get to the actual drain plug up in there. Like I said, it's a 1/4 inch. Remember, everything around here, the cat, everything's being nice and toasty, so watch out for it. I'm going to use a little ratchet like this to get up inside of here. And the drain plug should come out pretty easy. There's just sealant on there, and it's a regular pipe plug thread on there. So after a while, it's just going to be at a point where it will just spin in there, and you just get up in here with your hand and spin it out all the way with the rest of the way. And that'll give you better control so we can have our cup ready to go. So we're going to try to do this. as clean as possible. You see it's going to come out all over the O2 and the cat here, but we're just getting a measurement. So I'm going to try to spin it like this and let it fly. Woo. So there's a vent up top to allow air to come into there, so it'll just naturally vent out. And you can see it's a 75 W140, and it's pretty darn thick still, you know. So it's gonna take a while. So in order to get a good fluid exchange, there we go, you can see what's going on here. In order to get a good fluid exchange, once it settles like this, you can see a drip pattern on here. Put the cup down and walk away and get a really good exchange that way. Allow time for it to drip out. Patience is key here, it really is. So this vehicle has about 28,000 miles on it, maybe 25, 28,000. It's 2018 Explorer Sport, and you can see the fluids already starting to turn on here. It's not too bad, but that's the name of the game, to maintain it and swap it out before it does break down. So right now it's draining nice and evenly and consistently, and it's kind of one straight drop right here. So I'm just gonna put the cup down on the ground and let it drain. At this point, this thing is good to go. I basically drained it out into that cup, put the cup underneath it, and went to lunch. So 15, 20 minutes later, we're ready to start plugging this thing back up. Now, speaking of your plug, when it popped out of there, it probably stuck to the exhaust here somewhere. It has magnetic tip on it. Mine's right here. Sure enough. And there it is, found it. So yeah, look at the amount of metal that is stuck to the end of this thing. That's why you want to do your initial fluid drain here sooner than later. It's a pretty cool little drain plug. It sticks out further. It has a magnetic tip like that to it, so it sticks in there further. But once it gets plugged up with all these shavings on here, which is going to happen from break-in, etc., it's not going to do its job anymore. So you want to get that stuff off of there, clean it up, and then we're going to apply some thread sealant to the threads here. The stuff that I use is the Permatex stuff, the thread sealant. And I'll link to all this stuff down below so you guys have a good reference. All right, we got our thread sealant on the plug. It's all cleaned up. Let's try to get it back into there. By this point, you know, it's probably pretty cool underneath here, so it'll be easier to get this thing in here and thread it. Make sure you thread it in by hand, first couple threads, well, as far as you can go. It's tight up in here, so if you do by hand, you do much faster. And then we can just go ahead and snug it up on here. Now the actual torque spec for this little drain plug is around 106 inch-pounds. So it's not too much. So what I do is I just use a little 1/4 inch drive ratchet or something like this, and you're not going to get much leverage off of it, so just snugging it down like that, it's good to go. Remember, it's just a drain plug, all it is. So I just need to snug it up so it seals, and then we can start wiping up the excess here. And don't forget to clean the exhaust pipe and the cat and everything else. Now because it's all cast down here, cast iron or whatever, this cat is anyways, it's gonna soak into it, so it's gonna burn off after this no matter how we drain it. So if it's cool enough, right now, wipe off all you can, and then I like to soak it with brake clean if it's cool, and that'll clean it off the best way possible. Like that. All right. It's looking really good. All right, so once you have everything cleaned up down here the best you can, we can go ahead and lower the vehicle back down, go up topside, and modify that vent so we can fill it up. Back up top here, what we're going to do now is add an extension hose, a 5/16 extension hose to the PTU vent, which is buried way back down in here, not too far down. We're going to add an extension to it so we can service it easier in the future, and of course, fill it today. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to gain some access by removing a few basic items like the cover. You want to get the cover out of here, pull your oil fill cap off, and the thing just kind of pops up and out of there. Put your cap back on though. Don't want anything falling down in there. And then just to make it easier to get our arms down inside of here, I like to remove this air inlet tube right here and then loosen this one right there. 5/16. And this will make it so much easier. Let's go ahead and loosen it right here. Pull it away, and I get rid of this one completely. Like so. And this will allow us to get underneath here and over here to get to that vent tube to modify it. Next, we are going to locate the PTU vent hose so that we can modify it with our new extension pieces. So it's going to be on the driver's side near the firewall, pretty much underneath the master cylinder and then over a little bit. There's going to be lots of tubes and hoses and harnesses in here, but once you know what you're looking for, it's pretty easy to find down in here. Yeah, it's a mess, isn't it? All right, so there it is. So this right here is the PTU vent cap and filter assembly. So this part just simply pushes onto the PTU vent hose. So you're just going to use two hands and separate those, put the cap and vent filter off to the side. We're going to reuse it at the end. And then take your extension hose with the barbed fitting and simply push it onto this original factory hose. And that will extend the vent hose routing up into the engine compartment higher up here so that we can, of course, service it now, fill it back up, and in the future. Keep that vent cap. We're going to reuse that at the end here once it's all filled up. So go ahead and add that extension piece on, and then we'll go from there. In the end, once you're done modifying the PTU vent hose, it should look a little something like this. So I'll try to get you down in there so you guys can see exactly how yours should look. So right there you can see the old PTU vent hose, the original OEM one, and our extension hose are connected together by a 5/16 brass coupler, barbed fitting, and that will extend our PTU vent higher up in the engine compartment so it's easier to service now and in the future. Okay, it's right there. Now for mine, I gave it a little bit extra slack down below, and I kind of zip tied it right here to the brake master cylinder. And that worked out best for this one, but yours may vary depending on your model and year. Now we're gonna, of course, put this PTU vent back on at the end, so it keeps it protected from dirt and all that stuff inside of there. But for right now, we're gonna leave it off, and we're gonna start filling the PTU up. Okay, so with this 2018 Explorer Sport, it looks like I drained out right around 14.5 ounces on there. Probably closer to 15 when you figure in everything that splashed or got onto the exhaust. So at this point, you simply take your measurement, record it, and then you put the same amount back in of your favorite fluid. Okay, so it's pretty simple. Ideally, you'd keep one of these cups like this for old fluid, and then another one just for new fluid. I'll have to get another one of these. We're simply going to take our new fluid in this container, and we're going to bring the mixamizer over, pop the plunger, and we're going to use it like a funnel. All right, here we go. What we're going to do is we're going to use the housing only, pull the plunger out and toss it. We're going to use the housing as a funnel. So this tip right here will stick right into that tube, and that's a small funnel that we could use to pour it in. So it'll push on just like this. And it'll fit in there nice and tight, perfect. And then we're gonna take our container with new fluid, measured, and we're simply gonna pour it into here. So we can have it upright like that. And of course, it's better to warm this fluid first. And you know, it's 75 W140. So guess what? You're gonna need to put on some music or put on a movie and just let it go. Of course, at this point, you could use anything to prop it up against here and just walk away. You could do that too. Let's put our milling box to good use. Something like this. There we go. And it'll hold it for us. As you can see, it's going down in there. It's just gonna take a little while. It's thick fluid, and it's a 5/16 inside diameter in that tubing, so just be patient. Again, warming the fluid helps tremendously. Now, if your fluid's just a little too cold and it's kind of hard to get down in there, and you're just filling it like you see here, and it's not really draining down in there, okay? It's just kind of filled and it's just sitting there, which may happen eventually. Remember, you have the plunger from the Miximizer. So all you gotta do is put it in there, and then you can plunge it down in there, just like a regular syringe. And you just go nice and slow. And that'll help give it a little bit of positive pressure on the back end here to get it down in there. And after a while, you'll start to see it go in by itself. Just like that, just a little at a time. And it'd be like a 5-minute process at this point then. None of this is fun, but it's way better than pulling the cat down there. And it'll make it really easy. It's, you know, it's a little at a time. All the way down. There we go. And then you can either pop it off of here and allow it to vent, and then pull the plunger out, or you can just do it right now. It'll just pull some air out with it and a smidge of fluid. See? This is actually probably cleaner. And then it'll vent naturally. There you go. It's ready for the next dose. A little bit of time. It's actually draining into there pretty good now. Just a little more left, and we'll be all filled up. Once you're done, you simply come back over here and pop the Miximizer off, clean the tubing or anything like that. And you can go ahead and put our vent back on. Make sure it's pushed down all the way. There we go. Get all this out of there. And mine kind of fits real nice right here. Now, some of you out there may be concerned about filling the PTU through that vent line and it potentially getting clogged and causing pressure leaks within the PTU after servicing. So I've made a little mock-up here, same thing, Miximizer, 5/16. It's just a clear line now so we can see exactly what's going on. And we're gonna show how well it flows down into there and clears that line out automatically through, you know, a gravity feed on there. Now, if you're really that concerned about filling through the PTU vent line that's on the car, you may just want to get a whole separate 5/16 line that's a couple feet long, and then just go down underneath there, pop the factory hose off the nipple on top of the PTU, stick your service hose onto there, fill it, and once you're done, pop it off and stick on the original factory hose if you're that concerned about it. But we're going to go ahead and show you how well it actually vents out through here and clears the line within a few minutes. So we'll go ahead and fill this up, hopefully without spilling it all over the place. There we go, that's enough. And you guys can see it just draining out of here. On over, I have a little bit of a horizontal section here to really test it. And you'll see it flows, it constantly flows. This bottle's not heated up. This is 75-140, so it's a little thicker, and it's gonna take a little while. But after we actually clear out our filler funnel here, and we're starting to clean up and put everything back together, by the time we go ahead and put that vent cap and filter back onto there and put the hose away, this whole line is gonna be emptied out on there, okay? So you can see it's just going to take a little while, and it'll vent right out of there. It's flowing right into there. This is a junkyard engine, so it's no big deal. And there it goes. So by the time we force all the out of there, for what we can see on the car, that's going into the original black line right here, by the time you force all that out of there, you can see how quickly the line actually empties out on there. You know, this is basically horizontal right here, dropping into there. So I'm not worried about it, and really you shouldn't be worried about it, but I'm sure if some people out there are going to be concerned. But look, it emptied out within a minute here, and it's good to go. You know, so by the time you clean up, close the hood, and go for a drive, this line's going to be nice and clear for your PTU vent, so it doesn't overpressurize. And there you have it. What do you guys think? I mean, once this tubing extension part is done, you can simply pop the drain down below in the future, measure it, and then put the same amount back in with new fluid, and down the road you go for another 20 to 30,000 miles. Now on the Taurus show, I guess there's more room with the downpipe removed. You can actually get in there and pull the sensor off. That's another option, but in general, this is probably your best bet for frequent PTU fluid changes like this. Once that is done and filled back up, vent cap back on, make sure everything's back together, the engine cover's back on, oil cap's back on, and of course any air inlet tubing you took off is back together, so you're good to go. That's all for now. I'll see you guys next time.